The Everyday VOpreneur Summer Series is all about you, the Everyday VOpreneur, and bringing you on the show, giving you an opportunity to ask your questions and get your answers. But I didn't know my people were going to book Terry Briscoe, so I got to talk to my people. Some certain people have got to lose access to my calendar.
You need better people, Mark.
Imagine my surprise when I signed in and there you were, just sitting in my Riverside studio waiting to record a podcast. I'm like, wait, who let this happen?
Well, he's already told me he's not going to improv with me, so I guess
We just improv'd. That was it. That was the improv. All right, man. What's your question? Tell me what I can help you with.
Well, first, thanks for having me back. I
Yeah.
guess the summer series is gonna be my thing, till I get on the show for real. That's okay. That's okay. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Right
man.
on. Yes.
So here's my question, and
Okay.
as you know this, but I'm sure you have been timing it. For the last 5 years, I've been just pestering you with questions, and so that means I have crossed the threshold of my 5th year, and I'm starting to see more and better opportunities coming
Right
from
on.
all my efforts and everything that I've done up to this point. Thanks for all the advice. What I want to know is, what next steps would you recommend for me to take to get to that next upper level, to take that next leap?
This is a really interesting question because in a sense, I'm going through this to a degree in my own business right now. I don't think that this is a process that ever stops. I don't think this is a process that should ever stop. I think it's a process that some people let stop because you get to a point where you get comfortable or you get complacent or, things start firing on all cylinders and you just assume, okay, I'm here now. I have arrived. Things shall continue to fire on all cylinders. And that's a really great philosophy right up until the point when you realize that philosophy is based on no reality whatsoever. So it's an interesting question. I think there are a few different things that I would be looking at. So first and foremost, is coaching, but coaching with right people. I think that there are people who can get you from 0 to 2 or 0 to 5. I think there are people that can take you from 2 to 7 or 5 to 8. And I think there are people who will take you like from the 8 to the 9 or, 8 to the 12 or whatever. And I think different people, different coaches have different skill sets in different ways. And I also think that different coaches will push you in different ways, which I think is really important. If anybody ever asked Brad Hyland how excessively frustrating it was to coach me, he would tell you. But I needed somebody big and scary like Brad to make me feel physically threatened and harmed, that if I didn't shut up and do what he told me to do, he was coming for me. I needed that. I needed that because then I shut up and did what he told me to do because I didn't want him to come for me. And so I think that's really important too, right? Not all coaches will give you a boot to butt when you need it. And so I think that's another side of it. And maybe you're not quite as stubborn as me. I don't, time will tell. But I do think that's important. I do think that if you're working in coaching sessions and it's just always great job, pat on the bum, pat on the bum, pat on the bum. Are you really growing in that environment, do you think?
I don't.
No, right? And so I want somebody who stops and kind of leans back and looks at me and says, "What the hell was that?" Like, I want somebody to do that to me because then it forces me to stop and ask the question of, "Oh, okay, yeah, what was that?" Or, "Why did I do it that way?" Or can I do it better? And so I think across the board, I've had the opportunity through this podcast to have a lot of conversations with a lot of voice actors that I consider to be top level voice actors and voice actors who have had longevity.
Mhm.
And one of the things that is consistent across the board with those people is that the coaching and the training never stops. They don't ever feel like they arrived because they don't want to. I think once you feel like you've arrived, that's when actually the moment when you start going backwards,
I agree. I
right?
agree. Yeah, I
You
definitely
settle
agree.
in and you get comfortable and you do your thing. So I think that's part of it. But I also think that there are other ways that you can level up, and I think our default is through training, right? Oh, work with another coach, work with a great demo producer or whatever. But I also think that part of how you level up is by leveling up your network.
Mm.
And this is something that I have seen as well in both in top talent who are established and are doing extremely well and have done it over the long term. But also, I could point you to a few voice actors who are relatively new, who are moving at rocket ship speed because of their networking ability. Samantha Damiano would be one of those people. I sit back and look at her network that she's built in the last 2 years and think like, what have I been doing wrong for the last 2 decades? Because like literally you've built a 10x network to me. And I've been at this 100 times longer than you have. It's crazy. But I think that's part of how you level up. And I want to clarify that statement because what I am not saying is that if you just get connected to the right opportunities or to the right people, that the opportunities will come. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's a club or, you know, the VO Illuminati rumors that we've heard or gatekeepers and things like that. I don't mean to imply it in that way. But I do think that when you have the ability to deliver the goods and you put yourself in front of the right people, will that open up doors and opportunity? Yes. But it's earned.
Mhm.
It's earned because of your skill set. But you've got to level up your network to get to
Right.
those places.
Right.
And so that's the thing when you're at VO Atlanta or you're at One Voice or you're at Mavo and I don't know, somebody from Atlas is there or somebody from DPN is there. And you might otherwise think, no, I don't belong in that room yet, or I'm not ready to be in that room yet. You know what? Put your butt in that room because
Well, if you
that,
think that, you don't belong there.
yeah, but you
So
put,
think that you do.
yeah, you put your butt in that room because that goes back to what we just talked about a couple of minutes ago, right? Where if you're not feeling a little bit uncomfortable, then you're not growing.
Right.
If you want to get access to Atlas level opportunities, DPN level opportunities, CESD level opportunities, how do you think that's going to happen if you're never putting yourself in the room where those opportunities exist?
Yeah, I am one for believing that not only do you have to put yourself in rooms where those opportunities exist, but when you are given a chance to show what you can do, that you swing for the whole
Heck yeah.
fences. You got
Heck
to
yeah.
go for it, man. Like you got to really take a rip at it. Don't be afraid. I mean, if you're afraid, why are you here?
If you
Why are
look
you
like
here?
a fool, at least you tried.
Yeah. I mean,
And
what's the worst that could happen? No one's shooting at you.
yeah,
So, like,
that's right. And but the other side of that is that somewhere along the line, there are certain people in the industry who got put on what feels or is perceived as like this unachievable pedestal. And the reality is that the people that we've put up there on those pedestals are actually some of our biggest fans. Because,
mm,
like, okay, case in point, Marilyn Wisner, Kelly Moscinski, Tina Morasco, Andy Roth, 4 of the most respected and well-known casting directors in the industry. I've had all 4 of them on the podcast. And all 4 of them have made the point, like, look, we need you to succeed. We want you to succeed. We're your biggest cheerleaders because we can't do our jobs well if you don't do your jobs well. So let us help you do your jobs well so we can do our jobs well. And yet, if you talk to somebody who's newer in the industry, maybe not quite as established, and you mention a name like Tina or Mary Lynn or Andy or Kelly or any of them, it's like these revered people that I don't belong in the same space as because they're casting directors and whatever. And I just think we've got it all backwards. I think we need to give ourselves opportunities to get in the room with those people and,
mhm.
you know, go to one of their workshops, buy one of their classes, sit in a session with them at a conference or whatever. But putting yourself in a different room that is a level above where you're at, I think that's really important.
That's how you grow. Like
Yeah.
you have to. It's called growing pains for a
Yeah.
reason, right? You have to hurt a little bit in order to stretch, right?
Yes.
And all of those people
100%.
that you said, every single one of them that I've met, and I've had some of them on our show as well. Actually, going to see Andy next week.
Yeah.
Get out of your booth. some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your
Mhm.
entire life. When
Yeah.
we were at Mavo last year after you went after the great Dr. Pepper incident of Northern Virginia, I sat down at I saw Catherine Horan sitting down there after I had just taken her and Kelly's class.
Yep.
And I saw her sitting out there, and she was sitting by herself. And I was like, I just pulled up a chair. I was like, hi. Just sat down, had like a really good conversation with her for like 15, 20 minutes.
I met Kelly at Mavo. That was the first time I had an opportunity to have a conversation with her in person. And I was nervous about it because at that point in time, I didn't really see myself as a commercial voice actor playing at her level, right? And
Which is
so,
crazy, by the way.
well, yeah, it's just the nature of my career at that point, right? I had been a non-broadcast guy for so long, not a lot of effort and focus, attention put into commercial or whatever. But I went up and had a conversation with her after her session, and we had a really great conversation. And that started, I mean, the podcast gave me a foot in the door, not gonna lie. That was really convenient because I had her on the show and then met her in person at Mavo. And now I'm on her roster and getting access to some really cool opportunities. That didn't happen because I'm Marc Scott. That happened because I went and had a conversation with her, and she told me to send her my demos, and I sent my demos, and my demos were good. And so I earned that opportunity, but I needed to have the conversation first, right? I needed to meet her first. And so I think that's really important is you got to put yourself sometimes maybe you got to put yourself in a different room if you're trying to level up. What's the next room? What's the next level? I think another thing that you have to think about, everybody's familiar with the concept of like if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
Correct.
You don't want to be the smartest person in the room. It's really easy to build a group of peers who are where you're at, particularly when you're starting out. You know, you tend to associate with more people who are where you're at starting out, and you're trying to navigate together. You're trying to understand what's legit, what's not, what's a good genre, what's not, who's a good demo producer, who's not. Should I go to Atlanta? Should I go to Mavo? Should I go to whatever? And you tend to hang out with this same group. But you guys in that group are gonna grow at different levels. And there's going to be, if you find yourself at a point where your career has really taken off, but all the people that you're still hanging out with and associating with, they haven't taken off yet, that doesn't mean that you abandon them. Not at all. But maybe you need to find a different group of people who are above you
Hmm.
who can help to lift you up.
Yeah, it's like the minor league said. You're a baseball guy. It's like the
Yeah,
minor league system, right?
100%. And then you get to do that for other people as well. Right? I mean, that's
Yes.
why I do what I do. That's why these summer series episodes exist. So I can bring people on and they can ask their questions and I can share from my experience and hopefully I can lift them up to a higher level. But I've got people that I go to who are way smarter than me. And then I ask them questions and they help lift me up. And so one of the things that I think you need to be thinking about is who are the people that I'm hanging around with? And am I hanging around with people where I do feel a little bit like low man in the room or, you know, however you want to phrase it, because they are playing at a higher level
Hmm.
than I'm at. I want to spend some time in that room and spend some time with those people and be humble enough to be able to say like, yeah, man, I'm not there yet, but I want to be there. And I want to
Yeah.
be able to see what you're doing. I want to be able to model what you're doing. Tony Robbins is big on modeling, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. Go find somebody who's crushing it at that thing that you want to crush it at. Model them. Do what they do. Learn from how they do it so that you can maybe try to replicate that level of success.
I mean, it's like this kind of the concept of outwit the devil, right? You're trying to find people who are these kings of industry and try to figure out how they
What are they
did it.
doing?
What common things do they all have that they do, right? You were talking about Brad earlier. I think Brad might tell you that I'm on pretty high on that stubborn level too. but I was in, and we spoke about Tina earlier as well. Early in my career, within the first 2 years, I went to my first VO Atlanta, and I was in a room with it was Rebecca Lee and me and Jim Frank, who it's like John Gardner and Barry Severe. I mean,
Yep.
it was the most talented room I think I'd ever been in my entire life. And Brad goes last in this room, and Tina Morasco is teaching us the entire time. So I'm just like, whole time I'm just like in awe of just Tina, her ability to teach.
Yep.
And
Yep.
when she steps up and does it, it's so effortless and beautiful. And I'm like, yes, it's not even fair to be in here and watch you do it and everybody do it. But even Brad got up, and the read that he did was this very emotional piece.
Mhm.
And he was uncomfortable doing it because he had to really tap into, that emotion.
Yep.
So visibly watching him grow in a room full of other professionals in front of the biggest casting director in the world.
Yep.
Right? Just watching him, he had to go through a little bit of pain in order to get that growth. And literally, when he was done, there was not a dry eye in the room.
Yep.
It was the most crazy thing to watch. So you have to level up. You have to put yourself in those rooms with those talented people. I was probably the low man on the totem pole in the entire room, to be honest with you, at that point in time.
But how much did you learn from watching those, right? Just from being
So
in the
much.
room and watching them, right?
So much.
And so you put yourself in that. When you mentioned doing Hugh Klitzke's doing the hot seat in the open session, right? I've never been more terrified in my entire voiceover career as I was in that experience. And I say that in all sincerity.
Oh, you were so pale.
Until I was beat red and sweating. Go back and watch the video. Like, it's a wonder I didn't have a heart attack. I literally looked like I was going to have a heart attack. I was so uncomfortable. And I told you when he asked me, do you want to do this? And my response was no, but I'm going to do it anyway, because to have the opportunity to work with you is one of the best things that could happen to my career, right? Like, I was honest. I didn't want to do it. It intimidated me. But, and are there moments in that room when I felt naked and vulnerable in a way that I've never felt naked and vulnerable before? Yes. Are there moments in that room when I, booted a read and thought, okay, well, now the whole industry knows that I'm a fraud, right? Like, yes, those moments were going through my head. But on the other side of that session, I came out with this crazy confidence and just a new level of appreciation for my ability that I probably didn't see at the beginning of that session, just from that 1 hour.
It's just getting through it.
Yeah.
Right?
Just surviving that one. And not that it's any, like, Hugh is incredible. It was just the uncomfortable and vulnerable nature of being there in front of, what was there, 121 people or something like that?
I think you broke the record.
And it was not. I remember the 121 because that was my old fire department on badge number. But I was like, that was terrifying, but that was a level up moment for me. So putting yourself in that kind of situation, that was a level up moment for me.
So basically, put yourself in a terrifying situation so that you're forced to evolve.
I just really think that there's something to be said for if you walk into the room and you feel like every time, from a training standpoint, an X session at Atlanta, an online workshop or a Zoom session that you're doing, a one-on-one that you're doing with a coach. I think if you walk in every time feeling like you're just going to nail it because you're just that good, maybe you're not in the right room with the right person because you're not feeling like if I don't walk into some of these feeling like, I hope I don't make a fool of myself, right? I want to walk in feeling like that because that's where I think growth comes from. If I walk in and just assume that I'm going to be the best guy and just impress everybody and wow everybody, then again, where does the growth come from?
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean that you can't ever go in someplace and nail it. I mean, obviously, yeah, you want to go in some places and nail it. But if you're talking about leveling up, there's a level of discomfort and vulnerability that has to come with that. And if you're not feeling that level of discomfort or that level of vulnerability in the session with the coach, with the producer, whatever, then maybe you've got to find somebody else to work with, or you've got to talk to that producer and say, like, I need you to push me more. Right? That was my first conversation with Brad. I'm like, look, if I suck, I need to know that you're going to tell me that I suck. I don't want it to be a situation where it's like, oh, it's Marc Scott. And because I've been there, I've been in the room with coaches who just are like, oh, it's Marc Scott. And then I don't feel like I'm getting honest feedback. So I wanted to know, I'm like, if I suck, are you going to tell me that I suck? And when he said yes, I said, okay, then let's do this.
Let's do it.
And, he told me a few times.
So, and it hurts so bad.
But he's still invited to my house for ribs. So, in the end, it all worked out, right?
It all balances itself out. So let me ask you a question. Do you feel that need, that drive within you, comes from maybe when you were a firefighter, because your life depended on whether or not you did everything the way you were supposed to do it. You couldn't have, so someone couldn't tell you that you did it right when you did it wrong, because your life's at stake and so is theirs.
I have a wife and 4 daughters. One of my daughters starts college in the fall. One of my daughters is 2. So I still have a long way to go.
Buddy, what are you doing?
I still have a long way to go. Let me tell you something. My life does depend on my ability to level up. I've been very open about the fact that my business got kicked in the nuts hard last year. AI crushed me last year. And I've been very open about that. I've talked about that multiple times on the podcast. I hinted at it and talked about it in my session at Mavo, that I was in a process of reinvention and you know, kind of walked through some of that. And that was why AI wiped out my e-learning work.
Mhm.
I still have a wife and 4 kids and a mortgage. My life depends on me leveling up and finding a new way to grow my voiceover business. So do I have that urgency? Yeah, I have that urgency, but that goes back to something that I've talked about for years, which is finding your why. Why are you doing it in the first place? What is the thing that is driving you to get into the studio? Because nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people spring out of bed and run to the studio in the morning to send him another marketing email or to make another connection on LinkedIn.
Maybe Cameron.
Right? Very few people gleefully jump into the booth to submit 40 auditions between voices.com and voice 123, right? Like we do it because it's the job, but why do you do that? Well, I do that because every time I see my kids, I think I'm your financial support and I still got a long time to be able to financially support you. And so that's pretty motivating, right? So when I sit down and I think, do I want to risk humiliating myself on the hot seat with Hugh Klitzke, or do I want to risk humiliating myself by not being able to financially support my kids? Guess what decision I'm going to make?
That's an easy decision there.
I'm going to go humiliate myself in the hot seat with Hugh Klitzke all day, every day, because if on the back side of that, I walk away with even one tip that helps me book a new commercial, then it was worth all the pain.
Agreed.
But you got to be willing to put yourself into that situation. You've got to be willing to put yourself into the situation to be made to feel uncomfortable. And I think there's a humility that goes with that. I think the people who struggle the hardest in this industry, in all honesty, are some of the most established talent because of the fact that they get comfortable in their established career. And they don't, there's a lack of humility. And I'm gonna get in trouble for how I say this. I got to be very diplomatic about how I say this. But when you get to a certain point, there's just like, I've arrived. I'm here. I'm up here. They're down there. But let me tell you something. If you don't continually keep up with what's going on in the industry, one day up here is going to end up down there. Well, that's just the nature of the beast.
If COVID didn't teach that lesson for people who were up there, they were not prepared for what happened, and then some of the people from down here, they did grow. Whereas you didn't grow, you didn't learn how to engineer, you didn't learn how to do that stuff. You're just still waiting on the agent phone calls.
Yep.
Well, that kind of went down, and then those people who were prepared and knew what the deal was and had to up their engineering skills, and you know what I mean. They arose, and some of those are now those people that are looking at the top of the mountain.
I say this as somebody who's lived through it because of the fact that I can walk into a session. I go into an X session with Tina Morasco at VO Atlanta. Let's just use that as a fun scenario. I walk into an X session with Tina Morasco at VO Atlanta. Odds are most of the people in that room know that I'm Marc Scott and know who I am. And odds are most of those people have an expectation or an assumption that comes with that.
Sure.
Well, that's Marc Scott. He's amazing. He's got to be amazing. I walk in that room and I make a fool of myself. And now all those people are like, holy crap, I thought, that's Marc Scott. I thought he was amazing, right? I have to be willing to risk being humbled if I want to have the opportunity to level up with Tina Morasco. That's exactly what I did with Hugh. I knew that there was a chance that I was going to go in there and I was going to screw the pooch hard, and 100 people were going to see it, and it was going to make people question, whoa, I thought this guy was like, whatever. I can't, that doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. Their opinions are not the opinions that matter. My wife and my kids, and am I taking care of them? That's the opinion that matters. So I put myself in that situation. Did I get humbled in that session? Yep. I got humbled. Did I have a couple of hero moments? Yep. I had a couple of hero moments where I was like, dang, nailed that one, right? It's all part of the growth journey. And that's where I say, I think that sometimes the talent who are more established, they're afraid to try something new because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing. But man, this industry changes. The reads that book today are not the reads that booked a few years ago. The voices and the styles. I mean, crap. I do continue to say that one of these days, the big voiced announcer read is going to come back. And that's when I'm going to make my retirement, right? That's literally when I'm going to make bank and retire. But you know what? That read doesn't book anymore. And that was my moneymaker for a bunch of years. I had to find a way to adapt because the industry changed.
I did get an audition for one today, though. So
hey.
It's creeping.
It's creeping like bell bottoms, man. Everything comes back. But I genuinely think that that's so much of it is just a willingness to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations and to never. It sounds bad to say never be satisfied because obviously I think that we should be proud of our careers and our accomplishments. But I just never want to. I just always want to believe that there's one more level.
Satisfied is not the right word. Complacent, is the right word.
Yeah, I don't ever want to feel that. I always want to feel like, okay, that job was awesome. Let's go get the next one. Let's, how do I get one beyond that? How do I?
Well, I know you've had that feeling, right? You've like, I can't believe I booked that.
Yeah.
Right, and then you're like, oh well, now what?
But I will say the final thing that I would point out in all of this goes back to something that you said in the beginning, which is the mindset. And if you don't believe that you can level up, if you don't believe that you can be in that room, if you don't believe that you can book that, guess what? You ain't booking it.
Yeah, you can't.
If you go back and listen to my conversation with Andy Roth, I had a very vulnerable moment in my conversation with Andy Roth when I said that I was talking about the fact, I asked him, how do you fall in love with auditioning again? Because I had reached an audition burnout point. I have so many things going on in my business. There was coaching and there was podcasts and there was YouTube, and then I've got family and all of these commitments. And then an agent audition comes in and sometimes those agent auditions drop at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, oh, right. Which is not the right mindset to be bringing towards no. an agent audition, but I'm tired. I'm tired because I got so much going on. And I asked him, how do you fall in love with the auditioning process again? And he looks at me and he says, that sounds like a you problem. And I was like, ooh. Okay, well, first of all, this is my show and you can't talk to me like that.
Gotta love Andy's candor.
Yeah. And second of all, I'm like, right through the heart. But he was right. He was right. And I really needed to get back to a place where those agent auditions weren't, they were, ooh, this looks like a fun one. Mm-hmm. And walking into the booth with a genuine belief that, I could totally book this. I cannot overstate the importance of that mentality. Because do you want to know how many jobs I booked with my agent in 2025?
The whole year? How many?
0. Do you want to know how many jobs I booked with my agent in the first quarter of 2026? 4 nationals.
Nationals. Okay.
Now Canada, but hey, don't tell anybody.
It's a nation.
But I'm telling you right now, the reason for that, 2 things. 1, my conversation with Andy and realizing that I really needed to change my mindset around auditioning, and I needed to change how I saw myself, because I've said for years, I don't see myself as a commercial voice actor. Crap, stop telling that story. That story's not helping you, right?
You're going to believe it if you say it enough times.
I had to change my mindset and I had to change my narrative, and I got that from that stinging moment in my podcast with Andy Roth, and the confidence to be a good auditioner 100% came from the hot seat with Hugh Klitzke. When I went in there and nothing tragic happened.
Did you die?
No, I did not die. I mean, go back again, look at the video. I was very red and very sweating, and there were times when it probably looked like I was going to die, but ultimately I did not. And to have the validation of Hugh and the validation of Brad saying, man, your stuff is good. Your stuff is good. You're doing good.
Mm-hmm.
I needed that. And I've leveled up as a result of that.
Look at that. Still found another gear.
Still found another gear. I got a few more left before it's too late, before the soldier jalopy rusts out and the doors fall off and the tires go flat. And
you're still a very young man, Mr. Scott. You got this. You got a long way to go, brother. Long way to go.
I hope so. Like I said, there's a pretty big age gap in my kids, and I got a lot more college to pay for.
Buddy, I got a granddaughter, so
a lot of college. 4 daughters means I got a lot of weddings to pay for eventually too. So yeah,
I got 3 myself, so I can kind of feel.
There you go, right? So see, we can't have this whole thing fall apart yet. So we got no choice. We got to level up. That's your why, right? That's your
find gears, my man. Well, I want to be the best voice actor that ever lived.
Yeah.
So every day, no matter how long it takes,
put yourself in the rooms that make you feel uncomfortable, because you might surprise yourself. And the worst thing that happens is you look like a fool, but you learn something new.
That's what I tell people all the time. And
that's not so bad, right? That's not so bad, because now the next time you go in that room, you take what you learned.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep. All those lessons that you learned from day one, where you learn not to go and.
One day that's coming back, I'm telling you.
I don't know if that was coming back.
But wait, there's more. All right, Terry. Well, I hope this answers your question.
Absolutely. It was a great conversation, man.
Absolutely, it was. Lots of people needed to hear this one. Good stuff.